Hello, truth seekers. My name is Popman, Gambian and African enthusiast, and also a passionate Pan-African. It's an honor to be today's narrator, highlighting on the entire history of the black race. Welcome to the birthplace of humanity, Africa, the continent where it all began. While the rest of the world was busy being, well, not habitable, Africa was already cradling life. Scientists say we all came from here. Yes, even you, I mean you. This is where our story begins, with early humans roaming the savannas, learning, adapting, and setting the stage for civilization. Before Uber Eats, early humans hunted and gathered. They built tools, controlled fire, and laid the groundwork for everything we know today. Picture this: a community working together, sharing food, telling stories by the fire, and inventing the original life hack: cooking. While some civilizations were still doodling on cave walls, Africa had kingdoms, powerful, wealthy, and sophisticated. The Egyptians built pyramids. The Nubians challenged pharaohs. Nigeria has the Ife Kingdom, Kano Emirate, and the great Zimbabweans stacked stone like architectural ninjas. Africa was the blueprint. Iron smelting not necessarily for war, but utility, advanced architecture and craft stolen by Europeans, and medicine. These ancient societies had technology that would put some medieval European practices to shame. Bloodletting with leeches, anyone? Long before the age of discovery or the age of we found it first, Africans were exploring. Yes, trade routes stretched from Timbuktu to China. Ever heard of Mansa Musa? The guy who dropped so much gold in Egypt he caused inflation. Talk about making it rain. Still the richest man that ever lived before Elon took over early 2025. Incredible, isn't it? After 600 years, someone managed to overtake the African legend. Africa is home to the big five, but let's not sleep on the small billion. Termites build dirt skyscrapers, and ants have military strategies that could rival any world power. Nature, folks, it's brutal and beautiful. Before religion became a battlefield, spirituality in Africa was all about balance. They honored ancestors, respected nature, and danced like no one was watching. Except, of course, the ancestors who were definitely watching. Their gods weren't just in the sky, but in rivers, forests, and mountains. You could say they were the original environmentalists with respect for nature. They had Efa, Orunmila, Eledumare, Amadioha, etc. And many interesting fairy tales. Democracy wasn't born in Greece. It had relatives in Africa. Many societies were led by councils, elders, and sometimes queens who didn't need a crown to flex power. The Olois, the elders, the kinsmen, the warriors who protect their territories. Africans were social and community-driven. Decisions were made collectively. And yes, people actually listened and respected their elders' decisions, unlike your last Zoom meeting. Africans also make consultations with their ancestors, who are watchers from the spirit realm. From yams to plantains, millet to cassava, Africans didn't just eat to live. They turned food into an art form. They created cuisines still savored worldwide. But be careful, mention jollof rice and prepare for a West African debate that could spark another Cold War. Ghana jollof, South African or Nigerian jollof? That's a complete story for another day. Love in Africa wasn't just about heart emojis. Courtship involved dances, dowries, and sometimes entire village celebrations colorfully. Marriage was more than a union of two people. It was a bond between families, communities, and, if we're being honest, an excuse for a legendary party. Africans are naturally happy people. Before the Western propaganda and manipulation, we lived in harmony and contentment. Africa wasn't all drum circles and harmony. When diplomacy failed, they knew how to throw down. The Zulus' bullhorn formation? Genius. And unlike modern wars, they didn't need PR teams to justify their battles. They were pretty straightforward about why they were fighting. From Ifa divination to Egyptian astrology, predicting the future was serious business. They didn't need crystal balls, just wisdom, rituals, and a knack for seeing what was coming. Spoiler alert, they saw a lot of things coming. Sadly, not all of them could be stopped. You know what they always say about sabotages within the circle? That type of stuff. And then came the dark chapter. The Transatlantic Slave Trade. Millions ripped from their homes. But despite the horror, the spirit of resistance lived on. This wasn't just history. It was human endurance written in blood, sweat, and this unbreakable beat of a drum. If the Europeans and the Western world in general could pay for what they did to millions of Africans forced to labor, it would cost them all 80% of their present economy. It's priceless. We built them via human resources. And mineral resources all for free, guys. Too bad. Then colonialism followed, also known as advanced or modern slavery, where Europeans showed up with maps, drew lines, and left legacies of chaos. They called it civilizing. We call it trauma, pain, and oppression. Entire cultures were reshaped, languages lost, and the world's richest continent was left with the world's most twisted narratives that still lingers in the black race's mind and genes. From Nigeria, Algeria, Ghana to Zimbabwe, and 50 more maps drawn. Africans fought back. Except for Ethiopia, they managed to escape colonialism. They marched, they revolted, and they danced on the graves of empires. Because if you're going to win, why not do it with style? Freedom was not given. It was snatched with both hands and a lot of courage. Africans stood against their oppressors' blood and sweat. History is often written by the victors laughing out loud, or in this case, the colonizers. Entire chapters of African achievements were ripped out, burned or buried under colonial narratives, thousands of artifacts stolen. But like a good plot twist, the truth always finds a way. Archaeologists, historians, and everyday truth seekers are digging up lost stories and reminding the world that Africa's history is not just rich but overflowing. Our mineral resources stolen under the disguise of terrorism through organizations like USAID, WHO, UN, and the list goes on. Afrobeats, Afrofusion, High Life, Fuji, Apala, reggae jazz, blues, hip-hop. The world dances to African rhythms. From literature to fashion, Africa has been the world's creative muse. And let's not forget the inventions. From traffic lights to open-heart surgery, great black minds like Ben Carson. Black minds have always thought outside the box, even when the world tried to keep them in one. From Lagos to Kampala, Accra to Atlanta, the black identity is a mosaic. Each piece vibrant, resilient, and influential. Whether it's on the big screen in boardrooms or leading protests, the black voice is louder, prouder, stronger, and unapologetically authentic. This isn't just a movement, it's a renaissance. After centuries of storms, the sun is rising and my people are raising their consciousness, getting closer to their true identity and embracing it. Healing is happening, in therapy sessions, in ancestral ceremonies, and in moments of quiet reflection. It's about reclaiming stolen stories, building new legacies, and showing the world that black joy is not just resistance, but a right. Africans are triumphant. African cuisine isn't just food. It's a feast of flavors, a journey through history, and a love letter to tradition. From the spicy heat of West African jollof rice to the rich stews of Southern Africa, these dishes tell stories. And if you haven't tried it yet, your taste buds are missing out on some serious magic.
When territory disputes arose, Africans didn't just pull out the swords, they also pulled out wisdom. Councils of elders mediated, communities held debates, and when necessary, warriors stepped in. It wasn't perfect, but compared to modern politics, it was practically a TED Talk on conflict resolution. Nuclear weaponry cost billions of dollars, which could be easily used to help more people around the world. Humans used to live in the cave and loved one another. How did we get here, guys? And don't forget to like, share, and subscribe once again. It helps the YouTube algorithm push out to more viewers. Before colonization, Africa had diverse governance systems, from the powerful empires of Mali and Songhai to the democratic structures of the Igbo and the cooperative councils of the San people. Leadership wasn't always about thrones and crowns. Sometimes it was about who could listen the most and talk the least. Imagine that. And please subscribe and comment if you want more contents like this, and so more people can learn about the history of the black race. Thanks. The prophets spoke, the ancestors whispered, and here we are. Africa is not just surviving, it's thriving. The predictions of greatness weren't wrong. They were just early. Now, with leaders, young entrepreneurs like T. Wavers of Wavers Capital, Patricia, Moneypoint, Piggyvest, creators and visionaries rising from every corner, the world is finally seeing what Africa always knew. Its light was never lost, just waiting to shine. And so, the story comes full circle. From the first human footsteps to future moonwalks, Africa's story is not just one of survival, but of thriving, inspiring, and leading. The history of the black race isn't just a history of struggle. It's a legacy of brilliance, true love, resilience, and the unyielding power of the human spirit. Africa, the heartbeat of the world. And this is just the beginning. I have a dream that one day Africa will be the economic powerhouse of the entire world.
Hello, truth seekers. My name is Pesin from Nigeria, and Popman handed over this episode to me, as I will continue from where he stopped and take us on a journey of The current situation of the black race, the unfinished story. The world has moved. Planes zip across the sky. Skyscrapers stretch into the clouds. AI is crafting the future. But where does the black race stand? Let's talk about it. Not with the rose-colored glasses of political correctness, but with the cold, hard, and sometimes humorous truth. This is the story of the black race in its current position, its struggles, its triumphs, and the deep, uncomfortable questions no one wants to ask. Scene 2. Spirituality and Religion, From Gods to God. Before the missionaries arrived with their holy books and stern faces, black people had their own gods. Thunder gods, river spirits, deities of war and fertility. Then came the crossroads. The old gods versus the new. Colonization didn't just take land, it took souls. Christianity and Islam swept across the continent, and soon the original gods became paganism, and worship of them, well, that was just backwardness. Today, black spirituality is a blend of imported faith and native traditions. Churches are packed every Sunday, mosques filled every Friday. Faith is strong, but has it helped or hindered? That's the million-dollar question. Scene 3. Post-independence, the illusion of freedom. If I was there, I may probably run the script with them and wave their flags imposed on us. Well, they waved flags, sang anthems, and declared freedom. But the chains of colonialism didn't disappear. They just became invisible. The colonizers left through the front door and sneaked in through the back. They handed over the keys, but kept the blueprint. The leaders who took over were supposed to be saviors, but many became his Excellency Life President, with a taste for Swiss bank accounts. Scene 4. Post-colonialism and its legacy. New chains, same masters. Sometimes I wonder how our leaders fell for this illusion called independence. Anyways, the colonizers may have left, but their systems remained. Rigged economies, manipulated borders, and that beautiful, magical word, debt. Africa's resources continued to flow outward while development stagnated. The new leaders? Many were handpicked by former colonizers. The legacy of post-colonialism is simple. The script changed, but the director stayed the same. Scene 5. Government performance. The good, the bad, the absurd. Politics in the black world. Oh, it's a soap opera. Some leaders like Gaddafi, Nkrumah, Nelson Mandela, Thomas Sankara, and list goes on have done well. Built roads, provided education, even tackled corruption. But many, let's just say they majored in How to Loot 101. The corruption is legendary. Missing billions, ghost workers, roads built on paper but nowhere to be found on land. The bad ones call themselves fathers of the nation, but their children, well, they're starving. Scene 6. Global culture. The imitation game. From Afrobeat superstars like Wizkid, Burna Boy, Davido, Rema, CK, Witty Sound, Pessin Music, Omalay, and list goes on to Nollywood stars like Ramsey Nouah, Genevieve, Odunlade Adekola, Lateef Adedimeji, Mercy, Johnson, to Timini Egbuson ATC, to chess grandmasters like Tunde Onakoya, football stars like JJ Okocha, Kanu Nwankwo, Obafemi Martins, Odewingi E.T. Ao Anusi. The black race has shaped culture worldwide. But here's the irony. While black culture is celebrated globally, black people themselves, not so much. The world wants black music, black dance, black slang, but black struggles? Nah, keep that. Scene 7. Modern black identity and influence. Who is the modern black person? A tech entrepreneur, a rap icon, a protester, all of the above. Black identity is in a tug-of-war between tradition and the new age. We're inventing, influencing, and evolving, but are we in control of our own image? Scene 8. Black music, the soundtrack of struggle and triumph. From the spirituals sung in the fields to Fuji, her parla, high life, jazz, hip-hop, reggae, and Afrobeat, Black music has always been more than just entertainment. It's rebellion, survival, identity. Every drum beat, every lyric tells a story of struggle, resilience, and triumph. But while the world dances to Black music, who truly profits from it? Scene 9. Black movies, narratives, stereotypes, and the power of storytelling. Hollywood painted Black people as thugs, slaves, and comic relief for decades. Then came a shift: Black directors, Black stories, Black heroes. But is it enough? Are we telling our own stories, or are we just repackaging what sells? Scene 10. Black civilization and technology. Pioneers, innovations, and the future. Black civilization isn't just pyramids and lost kingdoms. It's tech innovators, scientists, and inventors shaping the future. But why does the world still act surprised when a Black person leads in STEM? Scene 11. Greed and control. The new chains of poverty. Africa is rich in gold, oil, diamonds, land. With over 30% of the world's mineral resources and 67% the world's uncultivated arable land and a vibrant youth population. But the people? Still struggling. Why? Greed and control. A few hoard wealth while millions starve. Foreign corporations dig up resources while the locals barely get crumbs. They call it business, but it looks a lot like theft with extra steps. Scene 12. The future of the Black race. Hope or repetition? The Black race stands at a crossroads. The past is full of wounds, the present is filled with challenges, and the future? Well, that's up to us. There's a new wave of Black entrepreneurs, thinkers, and visionaries reshaping the narrative. Digital currencies, tech hubs in Lagos, thriving Black-owned businesses. Change is happening. But the question remains: will this be a movement or just another moment? Will the Black race finally take control of its wealth, its image, and its destiny? Or will history simply repeat itself? New leaders, same mistakes, different century. The choice is being made right now, in every boardroom, every election, and every community. The world is watching. More importantly, the next generation is yet watching, and they are asking, will we be free, or will we just have the illusion of freedom? Scene 13. Conclusion. The unfinished story continues. So, here we are. The Black race. Brilliant, powerful, influential, yet still fighting for its place in the world. The struggle is real, but so is the potential. We've survived slavery, colonialism, segregation, and oppression. We've shaped culture, science, sports, and innovation. But survival isn't enough anymore. Now it's about thriving. The real question isn't whether the Black race can rise. The question is whether it will. Whether we'll break the chains of control, ownership, and dependence once and for all. And in the end, it's not up to governments, foreign powers, or history books. It's up to the people. It's up to us. The story isn't finished. The final chapters are still being written, and the pen is in our hands. Please like, share, and subscribe to our YouTube channel for more contents like this.
Hello, truth seekers. My name is Larry, and I will be taking over this episode from Person. I will now proceed to take us on the final lap of our documentary, The Future of the Black Race, the story of how the Black race conquered the world. Africa. The land they said would always be struggling. The continent they told tales about. Poverty, corruption, underdevelopment. Well, sit tight because this story is about to take a turn so sharp it'll leave your mind spinning. This is the future of the Black race, where Africa rises like a phoenix and takes its rightful place beside the great powers of the world. And no, this is not a sci-fi flick. It's a glimpse into what's possible when a continent decides enough is enough. Let's do a quick dive in like a newborn whale, exercising its freedom to swim in the ocean. The first thing Africa did, they got their house in order. Gone were the days of misplaced priorities. No more 85-year-old leaders clinging to power like it was their family heirloom. No more bizarre policies where a nation rich in gold and diamonds somehow has citizens who can't afford bread. Leaders started acting like CEOs and entrepreneurs. who wants to keep their customers happy, young leaders with good history, great IQ and smart moves, running countries like efficient corporations instead of personal cash machines. Now this was a tricky one, but Africa pulled it off. Corruption became so unfashionable that politicians actually started going to work. AI-driven transparency with real-time data, which means stolen funds were tracked down faster. Then your nosy auntie finds out you just got paid. Political godfatherism, dead. Rigged elections. Not on Africa's watch, everyone was actively involved in politics, unlike before. A new era of leadership emerged, one where merit, not nepotism, determined who ran things. African nations started working together, setting up a continental senate, where policies were made for the good of all, not just the few. Stability attracted foreign investors who no longer feared that their factories would be burned down by the next coup. The world watched in disbelief as Africa became predictable. And for the first time in modern history, that was a good thing. Now here's where things got interesting. Africa, the land where potholes used to be deep enough to have their own zip codes, transformed into an infrastructural marvel. High-speed trains cut across the continent, making it possible to have breakfast in Lagos and lunch in Nairobi. The entire continent was linked by world-class highways, underground smart tunnels, and eco-friendly cities that ran on clean energy. Ports became so efficient that goods from Africa were reaching Europe faster than European goods were reaching Europe. And let's not even talk about electricity. 24/7 power supply became so normal that young Africans started getting nostalgic about the days of candlelit dinners during blackouts. Africans begin to live their heaven on earth. The script flip. The divine energy has risen, and the universe finally hear our cry. It's such a great time to be alive. They say education is the great equalizer. Africa took this seriously. Schools were no longer just places where students memorized things they'd never use. Instead, they became innovation hubs. Practical exercises were adopted and geniuses were forged. Education was free, but more importantly, it was useful. Coding, blockchain, AI, digital content, finance, and space exploration were core subjects. Universities weren't just ranking globally, they were setting global standards. The brain drain reversed. Africans who once ran off to Western countries came back home to build the continent. Because, let's face it, who wouldn't want to live in a thriving economy with no racial discrimination holding them back? Remember when Africa used to send raw materials to the world, only to buy them back as expensive finished products? Yeah, that nonsense stopped. Africa built its own industries, refining its own oil, producing its own smartphones, making its own cars, and even launching its own space stations. Made in Africa became a norm, became a premium global brand. The continent stopped relying on oil alone. Tech, manufacturing, finance, and green energy industries skyrocketed. Suddenly, Africa was no longer the world's resource supplier. It was the world's industrial powerhouse. Magical right. With industries booming, Africa finally did what should have happened ages ago. It started trading with itself. No more unnecessary reliance on foreign markets. A digital Pan-African currency was introduced, making trade seamless. Bureaucratic bottlenecks were removed, and suddenly, buying from Kenya was as easy as buying from your local grocery store. The African Continental Free Trade Area became a global powerhouse, and African-made goods started flooding international markets. The continent was no longer exporting raw materials. It was exporting high-value products. And the rest of the world? They had no choice but to buy, because this time if you don't buy, you'd not only be left behind, you will miss out on the latest technology. Tech giants emerged. Africa had its own versions of Silicon Valley, but bigger, healthier, and better. AI, robotics, and blockchain were now standard industries. Young African entrepreneurs weren't just creating apps. They were building entire ecosystems and bringing a newer phase of Web3 to life. African-built satellites launched into space, providing global communication services. Innovation hubs popped up in every major city, and the world was forced to admit, Africa wasn't catching up. It was leading. In every angle, the dream finally came to life. The suppression died. The people started to become truly free. Visas were free to all countries of the world. The respect same willing, and Africans don't even want it anymore. We were self-sufficient. Everyone started flooding into Africa. Europeans, Asians, Americans, Arab were all over our land, wearing and using only the African brands. It was then we realized that our native attires looked good on foreigners. They wanted more orders. Amazingly amazing, isn't it? With great power comes great responsibility. Africa ensured its rapid progress wasn't hindered by insecurity. We had innovative security personnel trainers by our own people. Crime dropped. It was like a divine force intervened and embodied. Us cybercrime was crushed, and terrorism became a thing of the past you wouldn't dare. Law enforcement became efficient, and justice system corruption died, and justice was swift and fair. The entire history of the black race, past, present, and future, has come to an end. Thanks for watching. Please like, share, and subscribe for more content like this. Forgotten Echoes brought to you by Lion Republic TV. See you on the other side. Yude there, Watemagbo.